Chosen one, the test is over. And the reason you can feel it is because your spirit has already started packing before your life has caught up. You may still be in the same room. You may still see the same walls. You may still answer the same messages. But something inside you is no longer living at the old address. That is not random. That is not a mood. That is not impatience pretending to be faith. It is the quiet evidence of a completed season. Because God often moves inside you before he moves the world around you. God does not always announce transition with thunder. Sometimes he removes your appetite for what once distracted you. Sometimes he makes old conversations feel too small. Sometimes he lets you feel uncomfortable in places you once begged him to bless. The waiting is over does not mean every external detail has changed. It means the test has finished its work inside you. The wilderness taught what it came to teach. The delay developed what it came to develop. The silence revealed what it came to reveal. What comes next is not rushing. It is readiness. Breathe like someone who has been carried through more than people know. Pack what is pure. Leave what is finished. The destiny God prepared for you is not calling the old you forward. That is calling the formed you forward. There is something sacred about hearing this on a Sunday. Your soul has more room to tell the truth. Maybe the week behind you is still sitting on your shoulders, and maybe you woke up with a heaviness that rest could not touch. Picture a suitcase open on the floor, not full yet, not closed yet, just waiting. Morning light enters the room slowly, and it feels like God is standing near the doorway with quiet patience. That suitcase is not only about clothes, it is about what your spirit is gathering. You have lived long enough in survival mode. You have rehearsed old pain long enough. You have explained yourself to people who were never assigned to understand your future. Type "I am packing" in the comments, not as performance, as acknowledgement. Your spirit started before your life caught up. The bag is open. The season is closing. Let that be your declaration. Somewhere deep inside, the answer has already begun. The old room may still be around you, but the old season is no longer inside you. Chosen one, this is why you have felt strange lately. You have not been able to enjoy what used to numb you. The distraction still works for other people. It does not work for you anymore. You try to scroll, laugh, eat, sleep, and move on. But your spirit keeps rising through the noise. You are not restless because you are ungrateful. You are not restless because you are dramatic. You are not restless because you failed to trust God. You are restless because the place that once held you can no longer hold the person you have become. That pull is not pride. It is discernment. It is the part of you that has learned the cost of giving sacred energy to rooms that only know how to drain it. You are not better than them. You are simply being called elsewhere. You may also feel grief and peace at the same time. Grief means something mattered. Peace means it cannot lead you anymore. Both can sit in the same heart while God closes a chapter with mercy. Do not be surprised if your body feels restless while your spirit feels calm. Your body remembers the old pattern. Your spirit recognizes the new instruction. One part of you wants proof before movement, while another part already knows the gate has changed. This is not confusion. This is crossing. The strongest sign is not what you feel. It is what no longer controls you. There was a time when one message could ruin your day. One silence could make you spiral. One closed door could make you question your worth. One person leaving could make you feel abandoned by life itself. But look at you now. You may still feel pain. You may still have moments of fear. You may still need to breathe through the ache. Yet the old thing does not own you the way it once did. That is evidence. That is fruit. That is the proof many people miss because they only look for miracles outside themselves. Sometimes the first miracle is that you stop reacting like the wounded version of yourself. You stopped begging to be chosen by people who could not see you clearly. You stopped explaining your heart to those committed to misunderstanding it. You stopped calling rejection proof that you were unworthy chosen one. That is why this test is different. The test did not end because time passed. The test ended because something in your character answered differently. Press the like button right now. Not as validation of a video, as a signal that something in you just recognized this as true. The test ended because your character answered differently. Let that like confirm it. The test was in your reaction. Would you move from wound or wisdom? The test was in your silence. Could you obey without applause? The test was in your identity. Could you remain chosen when nobody clapped? You were not delayed because God forgot you. You were delayed because He was forming what could carry the promise. God saw the destination, but He also saw the version of you that would arrive there. And because He is merciful, He did not allow your gift to outrun your foundation. That is love. Even when it felt like delay, that is protection. Even when it felt like rejection, that is strategy. Even when it felt like silence, heaven was not idle during the months you thought nothing was changing. This is the formed you. This is the steadier you. This is the you that can hear God in a whisper, not only in a storm. That is why your spirit is packing. Pack your bags does not mean run without wisdom. It does not mean abandon responsibility or mistake impulse for instruction. Pack your bags means stop making permanent agreements with a temporary season. Stop calling old bondage your personality. Stop asking God to bless a place He is teaching you how to leave. Stop making peace with patterns that make you smaller than your calling. Some of you have been packing in secret for months. You stopped reacting. You stopped oversharing. You stopped chasing closure from people who only reopen wounds. You stopped letting every opinion enter the room of your spirit. That was packing. That was preparation. That was not nothing. Heaven saw the discipline of every quiet. No, you gave to the old version of yourself. Chosen one, you are not being asked to perform readiness. You are being invited to recognize it. Type "I am ready" in the comments. Not because everything is resolved. Because readiness is not the absence of trembling, it is obedience with a trembling hand. You are being invited to recognize it. Type "I am ready" and let that recognition become your declaration. This Sunday is a threshold, not because a calendar day has magic power, but because your attention is finally present enough to hear what your spirit has been saying all week. But hope is not your enemy. False urgency is the enemy. Despair is the enemy. The old voice that says nothing will ever change is the enemy. Hope rooted in God does not make you reckless. It makes you available. You are allowed to believe again, slowly, wisely, humbly. You are allowed to prepare without knowing every detail. You are allowed to clean your inner house before the door fully opens. There is also destiny touches your mind. It touches your focus. It touches the way you hear instruction and the way you return to clarity after years of fog. What if that fog was not your identity? What if the slow feeling you blamed on age, pressure, disappointment, or weakness was not the truth about you? For now, hold this one thought. God did not only prepare the door, He prepared the mind and heart that would walk through it. Stuckness avoids. Stillness waits with oil in the lamp. Stuckness keeps delaying obedience and calls it wisdom. You do not need to force the door. You do not need to create drama. You do not need to prove to anyone that you heard God. The next movement will not require panic. It will require alignment. And alignment begins with one honest sentence. I cannot live from the old season anymore. Say it inside your heart if you can. I cannot live from the old season anymore. Not with hatred, not with arrogance, not with bitterness. With truth. The test is over because the lesson has entered your character. You are no longer the same person who begged for crumbs of attention. You are no longer the same person who called confusion love. You are no longer the same person who mistook constant struggle for spiritual depth. You are becoming quieter, but not weaker. You are becoming softer, but not easier to manipulate. You are becoming more patient, but not more available to delay what God has clearly instructed. The suitcase is open. The room is quiet. The light is different. You do not have to understand every step today. You only have to stop denying that something has changed inside you. Chosen one, the bag is open because the season is closed. Carry this into the next breath of your Sunday. The test is over, but the meaning of the test still needs to settle. The waiting was not empty. The silence was not wasted. The wilderness had lessons hidden under the dust, and your spirit is ready to understand why the road had to be so long. Chosen one, the waiting was not empty. It only looked empty from the outside. People saw the silence and thought nothing was happening. But God was doing a work so deep that it could not be measured by public movement. He was forming the part of you that nobody applauds. What felt like delay was development. What felt like silence was instruction. What felt like rejection was redirection. What felt like being hidden was protection, because some rooms would have celebrated your gift while slowly weakening your spirit. You thought you were being held back. You were being held together. Chosen one, there are seasons when God does not explain the wilderness, because the wilderness itself is the explanation. It shows you what still controls you. It shows you what you still. It shows you where your obedience ends when comfort is removed. That place was hard. Do not pretend it was easy. You cried there. You doubted there. You wondered if you heard God wrong there. But even in that place, something holy was taking root beneath the ache. This is why the test took time. God was not only trying to get you out, He was teaching you how not to return. There is a kind of freedom that can scare a person who has lived too long in survival. Think of Moses standing near the edge of movement after years of wilderness. The promise was not only about land, it was about a people learning how to stop thinking like captivity was home. Predictable pain can feel safer than unknown blessing. That is hard to admit, but many people stay with what hurts them because at least they know its rhythm. And the soul can mistake familiarity for peace when fear has been loud for too long. That is part of why you waited. You were not just waiting for the door, you were becoming someone who would not sabotage the door once it opened. You were learning how to be steady when movement finally arrived. The test was not only about patience, it was about capacity. It was about whether you could carry instruction without turning it into panic. It was about whether you could receive more without losing the humility that protected your soul. The test was in your reaction. Would you move from wound or wisdom? Would you answer the insult with the old fire? Or would you let silence protect what argument could not heal? Would you keep giving access to people who only knew how to touch your bruises? There were moments when you wanted to prove yourself. You wanted to send the message. You wanted to explain the whole story. You wanted them to understand how much they hurt you and how long you had carried what they never noticed. But you did not always respond the old way. Sometimes you put the phone down. Sometimes you let the conversation die. Sometimes you let God defend what your mouth was tired of protecting. The test was also in your silence. Could you obey without applause? Could you keep showing up when nobody saw the sacrifice? Could you do the right thing when the reward was not visible and the people around you misunderstood your quiet? There is a lonely kind of obedience that does not look impressive. It looks like paying the bill. It looks like cleaning the room. It looks like not going back. It looks like praying with tired eyes and choosing not to become bitter. The test was in your identity. Could you remain chosen without public confirmation? Could you still believe there was purpose in you when your life looked ordinary, delayed, hidden, and unfinished? Still, you did not fully let go. Something in you kept breathing toward God. Something in you kept listening for the next instruction. Something in you refused to call the promise dead, even when hope felt tired. The test was in your attachment. Could you release what felt familiar, but kept you small? Could you bless what had ended without making an altar to it? Could you stop trying to rebuild a room God had already emptied? Attachment can sound spiritual when it is really fear. It says, maybe I should wait a little longer. Could you carry more without becoming proud? Could you be trusted with visibility and still stay tender? Could you receive provision and still remember the God who kept you when resources were thin? This is why delay was not punishment. It was mercy with tools in its hands. It was God shaping the container before pouring more into it, because overflow without formation can become destruction. There is a truth you need to let land. The door is not the reward. The formed version of you is the reward God can trust with the door. Many people think destiny is only a location. They think it is the new city, the new relationship, the new platform, the new money, the new title, the new room where everyone finally sees what was hidden. The reward is the person you became while waiting. The reward is the peace that no longer depends on one person replying. The reward is the clarity that no longer needs every stranger to approve what God already confirmed. The reward is the discipline you did not have before. The reward is the discernment that now notices what your loneliness used to excuse. The reward is the quiet strength that does not need to announce itself to be real. Share this message with someone who is still in the wilderness, but does not know the test is close to ending. Not to give advice, to send a signal. Sometimes the most important thing is knowing that what you are carrying has a completion date. You know who needs this. Share it now. That is why the waiting season could not be skipped. You wanted entrance. God wanted embodiment. You wanted the promise. God wanted a person who could carry the promise without being crushed by it. A door without formation can become a trap. A blessing without wisdom can expose unhealed places. A relationship without identity can become another place where you abandon yourself for acceptance. So when you hear pack your bags, do not only think about movement, think about compatibility. Think about what your next season can no longer host. Think about what your future cannot afford to keep feeding. The old address taught you something. Honor the lesson, but do not worship the location. Some places are classrooms, not homes. Some people are mirrors, not companions. Some battles are teachers, not life sentences. You can be grateful for a season and still leave it. You can forgive someone and still stop giving them access. You can love what was and still admit that God is no longer breathing on it the same way. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, a coffee, a donation, a seed planted at the threshold you're giving today is the first act of someone who no longer lives at the old address. Someone else is still there, still in the room, still unable to leave what once held them because they do not yet know they have permission to go. Your seed is how this word finds them. As you give, bring with you the 3 doors still in the forming, the ones still unopened, the relationship still transitioning, the clarity still arriving. Place all 3 inside what you release. The same God who is no longer breathing on the old is actively breathing on the new and on the person your seed is reaching today. The link is in the description and the pinned comment, chosen one. The old address cannot receive the new assignment. It does not have the room. It does not have the language. It does not have the capacity to hold the weight of what God is placing on your life. This is why you feel pulled and pressed at the same time. The pull is destiny. The pressure is the old structure losing its grip. The discomfort is what happens when your inner world has outgrown your outer agreements. Let your body settle for a moment. Notice where you are. Maybe there is light in the room. Maybe there are dishes waiting. Maybe laundry is folded halfway. Maybe you are sitting in a car or walking slowly or lying still with thoughts you cannot say out loud. You do not have to perform strength here. You do not have to solve your whole life in this moment. You do not have to turn this message into pressure. Just breathe and let the truth find the place in you that has been tired. You made it through more than people know. You kept going through weeks when your faith had no music. You carried responsibilities while your own heart needed care. You answered life while privately wondering if God still remembered the promise. Let that be enough for this breath. Not the full plan, not every detail, just the knowing that your waiting was seen, your becoming was seen, your quiet obedience was seen. This is where the Sunday rhythm begins to matter. Morning gave you recognition. Midday gives you understanding. The light is different now because the meaning is different. You are not just hearing that the test is over. You are seeing what the test produced. It produced patience that is no longer passive. It produced faith that is no longer loud for attention. It produced discernment that does not need to explain itself every time it says no. Readiness is not the absence of trembling. Readiness is obedience with a trembling hand. Readiness is packing what is pure while leaving what has expired. Readiness is refusing to let fear dress itself as wisdom one more time. The next instruction is not only about where you are going, it is about what cannot come. Old resentment cannot come. The need to be understood by everyone cannot come. The habit of shrinking to keep peace cannot come. The addiction to chaos cannot come. The story that says you are always too late cannot come. You can bless the old season without carrying its dust into the next room. You can honor the wilderness without building your house there. You can remember the lesson without repeating the prison. Chosen one. The waiting had to happen because God was not only preparing something for you, He was preparing you for something, and the part of you that is ready now was born in the place you thought would bury you. That is why the test is over. Not because nothing else will ever challenge you. Not because every question has been answered. Not because the road ahead has no weight. The test is over because the lesson has done its deepest work. The waiting has given what it came to give. The wilderness has spoken its final word over this version of you. What you pack next will matter. The next movement will require clarity, peace, obedience, and a different relationship with your own mind. So, let this settle through the rest of your Sunday. The waiting was not empty. The silence was not rejection. The delay was not denial. It was the hidden road that formed the one who can finally move. The old address cannot receive the new assignment. The new assignment cannot be carried by the old identity. The old identity has already lost its authority over you. Chosen one, your spirit knows this. That is why it is packing. Type 555 in the comments. 5 is the number of divine transition movement authorized from the other side of the door. 3 5s means the crossing has already been approved in the spirit. The old identity has lost its authority. The spirit is packing. Let 555 be your timestamp. Chosen one. This is where the message becomes practical. The test is over, but a completed test still requires a clean exit. You do not pass through a season of formation just to drag every old habit into the place God prepared. Pack your bags means gather what belongs to your future. Leave what belongs to your training ground. Do not rush. Do not panic. Do not make a dramatic decision just to feel movement, because destiny does not need chaos to prove that it is real. The first thing you pack is peace. Not the peace that depends on perfect circumstances. Not the peace that needs everybody to understand you. The peace you pack is the quiet refusal to let fear drive the car. You are not packing panic. You are not packing revenge. You are not packing the need to prove that everyone was wrong about you. Those things are too heavy, and they will make the next room feel like the old one. Pack alignment. Let your small choices agree with your next season. If God is calling you into clarity, stop feeding confusion. If God is calling you into healing, stop reopening the same wound for people who never came to heal it. Alignment is quiet. It is what you answer. It is what you ignore. It is what you permit. It is what you stop calling normal when God has already shown you it cannot travel with you. Pack clarity. Chosen one. Stop calling confusion humility. Sometimes you know what God has been saying, but you keep asking again because the instruction requires a version of you that fear has not met yet. Clarity does not always arrive with a full map. Sometimes it arrives as one clean next step. Apologize. Apply. Rest. Leave. Prepare. Forgive. Stop answering. Start building. And tell the truth. Pack kingdom obedience. Move when God instructs, not when fear screams. Obedience does not always feel powerful at first. Sometimes it feels small, quiet, and almost invisible. But heaven knows the weight of a yes that cost you comfort. Pack discernment. Your next season will not only bring open doors, it may also bring old tests wearing new clothes. And you will need eyes that can recognize the difference between opportunity and distraction. Leave resentment. Leave the old label. Leave the need for revenge. Leave the habit of explaining your whole heart to people who only listen for weaknesses they can use later. Leave the survival identity you needed it once. It protected you through hard nights. But survival was a shelter, not a name. You can honor how you survived without letting survival lead your future. Leave delayed obedience. That one is heavy. It sounds wise, but often it is fear dressed in spiritual language. When God has spoken clearly, waiting for the perfect feeling can become another way of saying, no type. I release it in the comments, not as a performance of healing, as a clean statement about everything on that list. The resentment, the old label, the survival identity, the delayed obedience. One declaration covers all of it. I release it. Chosen one. It may still have versions of you that you understand, but understanding a place does not mean you are assigned to remain there. Some people preferred you uncertain, not because they are evil. Not always. Sometimes they simply knew how to relate to the smaller version of you, and your growth now asks them for a maturity they do not want to practice. Do not hate them. Do not worship them. Do not build your future around their reaction. Bless them if you can. Release them if you must. But do not hand them the keys to a room, not with anger, with settled truth. The old address does not have the room. The old season does not have the language. I am not going back is not a threat. It is an honest agreement with what God has already finished. The old address will call you back through comfort. It will not always look dangerous. Sometimes it will sound familiar. Sometimes it will feel warm. Sometimes it will whisper. At least here you know who you are. But that is the trap. You know who you were there. You do not yet fully know who you are becoming, and the unknown can feel like danger when your nervous system has been trained by disappointment. This is why you cannot make reckless moves from emotional heat. Pack internally first. Let peace settle. Let wisdom speak. Let confirmation come through fruit, not frenzy. God does not need you frantic to prove that you are faithful. Still, do not use wisdom as a hiding place. Deep down, you know when you are waiting on God, and you know when you are hoping God changes an instruction, so you do not have to obey it. Some people will prefer the version of you they could predict. They may not know how to respond when you stop explaining. They may feel confused when your no becomes calm. They may call your peace distance because they were used to your panic. Do not punish them. Do not chase them. Do not build your obedience around their comfort. If God is moving you forward, the old audience does not get to vote on the next instruction. Fear will also try to return. It will not always sound like fear. It may sound like wisdom. It may say, wait until everything is perfect. It may say, what if you fail? It may say, what if you heard wrong? It may say, who do you think you are? Answer fear with remembrance. You are not moving because you are special in a proud way. You are moving because God has been faithful in a holy way. You are not walking ahead of Him. You are walking with him. Over-explaining will try to return too. That habit has followed you for years. You wanted people to understand your heart so they would stop misreading your motives. You wanted to prove you were not selfish, not cold, not ungrateful, not too much. But chosen one, some people are not confused. They are committed to a version of you that benefits them. If they accept your growth, they must also accept that they can no longer access you the same way. Let them feel the change. Let them notice the boundary. Let them ask questions they may never ask with humility. You do not need to narrate every act of obedience to people who only listen for ways to pull you back. Type 444 in the comments. 4 is divine protection. 3 fours is the seal placed on the boundary between what is closed and what is opening. What the old season cannot carry into the new is now covered. Let 444 be the line you draw between the person who needed to explain and the person who no longer does. This is how you protect the new season. You protect it with quiet obedience. You protect it with clean boundaries. You protect it with prayer. You protect it by refusing to bring the whole old crowd into a room God built for your becoming. That quiet obedience, the kind that costs comfort but builds foundation, is exactly what giving from this place looks like. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, your seed today is quiet obedience made visible. Not loud, not dramatic, just clean. Someone else is trying to figure out how to protect a season that has not fully arrived yet. They do not know how. Your seed is how this word reaches them before fear convinces them the new room is not real. As you give, place all 3 inside what you release. What you protect in quiet, God protects in full. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. There is also another danger, waiting for a perfect sign after God has already spoken. That can look spiritual from the outside. But sometimes it is delayed obedience wearing a robe. God is patient, but fear should not be your prophet. If the instruction has been confirmed through peace, wisdom, fruit, and repeated inner knowing, do not keep asking for thunder because you are afraid of one step. The next season may still require courage. It may still require planning. It may still require conversations that make your voice shake. Readiness does not mean you feel fearless. It means fear is no longer seated on the throne. Let the day slow down for a moment. Maybe this Sunday is moving toward evening where you are. Maybe the light has changed. Maybe the room feels softer now. Maybe the week ahead is already trying to enter your mind with its lists, duties, calls, bills, and unfinished things. Place one hand near your chest if that feels right. Breathe once without performing anything. You do not have to earn this moment. You do not have to make your faith sound impressive. Just let your body know that it survived a season your mouth still cannot fully explain. You made it here, not perfectly, not without questions, not without moments when you almost turned back. But you made it here with enough of your heart still open to hear God speak. That matters. Your softness matters. Your endurance matters. Your private obedience matters. The tears you wiped quickly before anyone entered the room mattered. The prayers you prayed with no beautiful words mattered. This evening is not the end of your story. It is a sealing moment. It is the quiet closing of an old file in the spirit. It is the moment where you stop living as if the test is still deciding who you are. Chosen one, you are not behind. You are not too late. You are not disqualified because the road took longer than you expected. Delay did not cancel destiny. Pain did not erase purpose. Silence did not mean absence. You are not the person who entered the test. That version of you did what it could with what it knew. Honor that version. Do not shame it, but do not hand it the steering wheel for the next part of the journey. There is one more layer of readiness that many people ignore. They talk about faith. They talk about purpose. They talk about destiny, but they never ask whether their mind is clear enough to steward what their spirit is sensing. Your calling needs your heart awake. It also needs your thoughts clear. It needs focus. It needs the ability to return to peace after pressure. It needs you to stop living in a fog and calling it humility. Some of you remember being sharper when you were younger. You learned quickly. You imagined freely. You sensed things before you had language for them. You were not fighting yourself every time a new idea came. Then life layered things over you: stress, disappointment, noise, responsibility, fear, the pressure to perform. Slowly, the clear part of you started feeling far away. What if that was not your identity? What if something God placed in you has been suppressed, not erased? Your suitcase is still open. The old season is still closed. Packing is not only about what you leave behind, it is also about how you prepare the part of you that must hear God clearly in the next room. Clarity supports obedience. A clear mind is not a replacement for surrender. It is what makes surrender possible without dragging fog into the future. Chosen one, gather what belongs to your future. Pack your peace. Pack your clarity. Pack your obedience. Pack your discernment. Pack your gratitude. Leave behind everything that turns your promise into another prison. The door is not asking for the old you. The door is asking for the formed you. And the formed you is not frantic. The formed you is not begging. The formed you is walking with God. Chosen one, the destiny God prepared for you is not random. It is not a fantasy built from pain. It is not a place you invented because survival became too heavy. It is an assignment shaped by God before you had language for the ache inside you. Destiny is not only a new door, it is a new way of carrying yourself when the door opens. It is character meeting calling. It is wisdom meeting opportunity. It is obedience becoming visible after years of hidden formation. You may have thought destiny would arrive loudly. You may have imagined a moment where everything changed at once. But God often begins with one ordinary instruction, one quiet conversation, one clean ending, or one small step that changes the direction of a whole life. Do not despise the small step. A new season can begin with a text you do not send, a boundary you finally keep, a room you clean, a plan you write down, a prayer you whisper when your heart feels too tired for pretty words. The destiny God prepared touches your whole life. It touches your relationships. It touches your work. It touches your choices. It touches your money, your health, your time, your habits, and the way you speak to yourself when nobody is listening. That is why the preparation was so deep. God was not only preparing a place for you, He was preparing a person in you who could walk into that place without collapsing under the weight of it. Some doors require a different nervous system. Some rooms require a quieter ego. Some blessings require a heart that no longer needs to prove pain to be believed. Some assignments require a mind that can stay clear when attention increases. The hidden years were not wasted. The years when you felt unseen were not empty. The weeks when nothing seemed to move were not proof that God had forgotten you. They were part of the unseen construction. You learned what cannot lead you. You learned what drains your peace. You learned who celebrates your growth and who only tolerates your weakness. You learned that not every open door is God, and not every closed door is rejection. Now the question is not whether God can open the door. The question is whether you will keep walking when the familiar tries to call you back. Because the old season will try to pull you back. It may not come with obvious darkness. It may come with nostalgia. It may come with a familiar voice. It may come with a memory that edits out the pain and only shows you the comfortable parts. Be careful with nostalgia. It can make a prison look warm after the door has opened. It can make an old pattern feel like home because your body remembers the rhythm, even when your spirit remembers the cost. Some people will prefer the version of you they could predict. They may not know how to respond when you stop explaining. They may feel confused when your no becomes calm. They may call your peace distance because they were used to your panic. Do not punish them. Do not chase them. Do not build your obedience around their comfort. If God is moving you forward, the old audience does not get to vote on the next instruction. Fear will also try to return. It will not always sound like fear. It may sound like wisdom. It may say, wait until everything is perfect. It may say, what if you fail? It may say, what if you heard wrong? It may say, who do you think you are? Answer fear with remembrance. You are not moving because you are special in a proud way. You are moving because God has been faithful in a holy way. Over-explaining will try to return too. That habit has followed you for years. You wanted people to understand your heart so they would stop misreading your motives. But chosen one, some people are not confused. They are committed to a version of you that benefits them. Let them feel the change. Let them notice the boundary. You protect it with clean boundaries. You protect it with prayer. You protect it by refusing to bring the whole old crowd into a room God built for your becoming. There is also another danger, waiting for a perfect sign after God has already spoken. That can look spiritual from the outside, but sometimes it is delayed obedience wearing a robe. God is patient, but fear should not be your prophet. If the instruction has been confirmed through peace, wisdom, fruit, and repeated inner knowing, do not keep asking for thunder because you are afraid of one step. The next season may still require courage. It may still require planning. It may your voice shake. Maybe this Sunday is moving toward evening where you are. Maybe the light has changed. Maybe the room feels softer now. Maybe the week ahead is already trying to enter your mind with its lists, duties, calls, bills, and unfinished things. Place one hand near your chest if that feels right. Breathe once without performing anything. Some of you remember being sharper when you were younger. You learned quickly. You imagined freely. You sensed things before you had language for them. What if that was not your identity? What if you are not lazy? What if you are not slow? What if you are not too old, too distracted, or too damaged to move with clarity again? What if something God placed in you has been suppressed, not erased? Receive what God is giving now. Receive clarity. Not every detail, but enough light for the next step. Receive courage, not the kind that feels fearless, but the kind that obeys while the hands still tremble. Receive discipline, not punishment, not shame discipline, as devotion to the life God is calling you to carry, discipline as love for your future self, discipline as agreement with destiny. Receive divine timing, the kind that does not compare your road to another person's road, the kind that can bless someone else without using their harvest as a weapon against your own heart. Receive the prepared path. It may not look exactly like your imagination. It may begin smaller than your ego expected. It may require humility before visibility and consistency. Receive the mind and heart needed to walk through the door. A clear mind, a clean heart, a steady spirit, a body that learns peace again, after years of bracing for impact. Receive help without shame. Receive support without pride. Receive wisdom from the tools, people, practices, and quiet disciplines God uses to strengthen the one He is sending forward. God cares about the whole of you, your spirit, your mind, your body, your decisions, your peace, your ability to hear and obey. Nothing about your next season requires you to become frantic. Nothing about destiny requires you to betray your healing. God is not asking you to sprint from trauma into responsibility without breath. He is teaching you how to walk steady, clean, awake, obedient. Now seal what has been spoken. Seal the lesson. The waiting was not empty. The silence was not rejection. The delay was not denial. The test was not proof that you were forgotten. It was the place where God formed what the future would require. Seal the identity. You are not the abandoned one. You are not the overlooked one. You are not the rejected one. You are not the one who always arrives too late. You are chosen one. You are being formed by God. You are being you are being carried into a prepared place with a prepared heart. Seal the obedience, not with hype, not with panic, not with a promise to change everything before sunrise. Seal it with one honest yes. Seal it with the next faithful step. Seal it with a quiet refusal to return to what God has finished. Type sealed in the comments. One word, because all three seals are covered in it: the lesson, the identity, the obedience. What God has spoken over this day cannot be unspoken. Sealed means it stands. Type it, and let that be your agreement. Seal this Sunday as a threshold, not because the date controls your destiny, but because agreement matters, attention matters, surrender matters. There are moments when the heart finally stops arguing with God and begins to walk. This is one of those moments. You do not need to announce it to everyone. You do not need to prove it online. You do not need to make a speech to the people who benefited from your confusion. Let your life become the announcement over time. Now comes the release. Release the old address. Release the rooms that only knew how to hold your fear. Release the version of yourself that apologized for needing peace. Release the habit of shrinking so others would not feel confronted by your growth. Release resentment from the waiting. It is too heavy for the road ahead. You can tell the truth about what hurt and still refuse to carry bitterness as your identity. Bitterness makes every new door smell like the old wound. Release the need to be understood by people assigned to your past. Some explanations are expensive. They cost peace. They cost focus. They cost the tender place in you that God is trying to heal. Release fear of movement. Fear may walk beside you for a little while, but it does not get to lead. Let it be present if it must. Just do not let it hold the map. Release the survival version of you with compassion. That version helped you make it through. That version stayed awake when nobody came. That version carried too much for too long. Thank it, but do not enthrone it. Type, "I belong to what is next" in the comments. Not as wishful thinking, as a declaration of address change. The old season has been released. What is being received now belongs to the person being formed, not the person being tested. I belong to what is next. The suitcase is lighter now. Not because everything is easy, because you are no longer trying to pack what God told you to leave. You are no longer stuffing resentment into the corners. You are no longer hiding fear under spiritual language. Pack what is pure. Leave what is finished. Walk with God. Carry wisdom. Carry gratitude. Carry discernment. Carry peace. Carry the memory of how God kept you when you did not know how you were being kept. Leave shame. Leave comparison. Leave the old script that says you are always almost there, but never arriving. Leave the voice that tells you your best years were behind you. But ordinary life feels different when an old identity has lost its authority. You may wake tomorrow in the same room. You may see the same ceiling. You may make the same coffee or take the same road, but you will not be carrying the same agreement. That is how transition often begins, not with the whole world changing at once. With the soul no longer signing the old contract. Chosen one. The waiting did not win. The test did not break you. The silence did not erase you. The delay did not disqualify you. The wilderness did not become your name. God has already gone ahead. That does not mean you will know every turn. It means you will not walk alone. It means grace will meet you at the step you are actually on, not the step you pretend to be strong enough to take. Let peace be the sound that closes this day. Let gratitude be the breath that opens the next one. Let obedience be simple enough to practice when the feelings are not dramatic. The door is not behind you anymore. It is in front of you. The bag is not filled with fear anymore. It is filled with what survived the fire and came out clean. What survived the fire and came out clean that is what you send forward. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment to Ko-fi, whatever is in your hand, your seed today, is that survival forwarded. Someone else is still in the fire, still not sure anything clean will come out. Your seed is how this word reaches them in the middle of it. And here is the truth already woven through this message. The wilderness does not become your name, and what you release from the other side of it does not disappear. It becomes ground. It becomes instruction. It becomes the soil for what God is planting in someone else's season. But it does not stop there. The same principle that kept you through the wilderness, that nothing endured was wasted, that nothing carried was without purpose, is the same principle that governs what you release now. A seed from the other side of the fire does not return empty. What you give today multiplies back into the three things you are still stepping into. The new room still forming around you, the identity still settling into its full weight, and the season you have been prepared to carry. God does not only use your seed to reach someone else, He uses it to confirm what He has already spoken over you. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. If you are not yet subscribed to this channel, do that now. Not as a follow, as a decision to stay in the frequency of what is being spoken over this season. The next word for where you are going is already forming. Subscribe and stay in alignment. Chosen one. The test is over. Pack your bags. It is time to walk into what God prepared.